Hello, welcome back to another Agency Connect. I'm Sunir Shah, CEO of AppBind. It is a snowy day here in Toronto, so I brought it's the first real snow of Toronto. So I brought a Torontonian with me, Kelly Patchet from Quarterback Digital. She has figured out how to made a sustainable agency so that she could actually, live a proper, fulfilling life, and we're not waking up every night screaming in terror about making payroll. So I had to have her on. Thanks for being here, Kelly.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Tell us about your first. Tell us about Quarterback Digital and yourself.
Well, Quarterback Digital I'm going to say that we started it in 1998, but it was called GK Media Design. And we began as humble web development firm. My husband's my partner. And you can ask me about that because people are fascinated that, we've spent basically every day of our married lives together since then. We started out as web developers, and we did that for till about 2015. And so we were always a web development company that, charged more because we did research, we dug in, we had the right business conversations. So we were never these sort of like, $5,000 websites. They were always higher value websites for established companies. And by about 2015, I think that the forces between 2010 and 2015 of commoditization for web development services, that was one part of it. There was this race to the bottom for companies like ours. And, oh, you can have a $2,000 website. $2,000, that's a fortune. So there was that aspect of it. That didn't bother me too much because there will always be companies who will pay for value. But I think we were just worn out. And a big part of our story, and we changed our name to Quarterback Digital for a reason, because we realized we were working with these great companies that were all very profitable, very established. We had Bay Street clients. We were not really positioned, but we had some B2C, B2B, but they all were profitable companies who were willing to pay for value and sort of a business approach to getting, at least their website off the ground. But the problem, Sunir, with that is that we realized that as we finished the web project, we would drop them off at the curb, we'd all wave goodbye, and we wish them luck. And we realized that for them, they ticked a box and they thought it's done. Where we knew it's just beginning. That proper website that is there to either generate a lead or a sale was just the foundation to go forth and do your digital marketing. And in their minds, it was either this is done now, let's get back to our real jobs, or okay, we've got this, but it's not doing anything for us because nobody's taking charge of that. So in 2015, I said to my partner, Glenn, I'm never building another website in my life. I don't know what we're going to do, but I'm not doing that anymore. I can't do it anymore. So we started Quarterback Digital, and I reached out to one of my longest, and they're still a client, one of my longest term clients. And I said, Rich, I said, what if I came to you and said, I'm going to not just be there when you need us for another page or a landing page or something that needs to be designed and developed, but what if I took the whole marketing function off of your hands and we just run it for you? And he basically looked at me, and no lie, he looked at me and he went, oh my God, I've been waiting for you to say that for a long time. And so like the big light bulb, and it was, on the one hand, it was like, oh, I've just very quickly sort of vetted the idea of the problem for our clients in our heads because they don't know what they're doing. If they don't have an in-house legit marketing team, they really don't know what they're doing. Smart people.
Yeah,
But
I mean, they're all smart. It's the thing. Like
right.
people like, well, why don't the client? This is a recurring theme. Anyone who listens to enough of these will hear this story. But like, every client is basically the same. They're all freaking out. They're all behind schedule. They don't have. They've tried doing it internally, and they feel slight incompetent. They don't have capacity or capability somehow in their organization. And whether it's a business hiring a digital marketer like yourselves, or an auto mechanic helping someone get their car fixed so they go to work the next day so they can make money and pay rent, or the nail salon on the bride's wedding day, every contractor is solving the same problem for clients. They just you take your job is to calm them down and make them feel like their life is back under control and say, no problem, I know what I'm doing, you can trust me, I'm an expert, I'll take care of it for you. And that package, if you can get down to that point of going, I got you, the doors are wide open to what you could actually sell. Like
Right.
when
And
you're
if you,
selling a product, like a website, like a thing, it's only a thing. They want calm control. It's a bigger picture thing.
well, that's it. And that's really the other half of what really makes us us. And the reason we called ourselves quarterback is that we realize that clients come into us and they're self-diagnosing their problem. And so when they really don't know why they're not generating leads, or they really don't know why sales aren't happening, the first thing they do is build another website. But they're just going to repeat the sins of the past all over again, right? And or it's like, maybe is it like you, let's say in 2016, social media, like we're just not doing social media properly, or this pick an element of the digital marketing menu, and it must be this. But in reality, all those things need to be functioning highly under the umbrella of a guiding strategy that has been well thought out for the business, where we have identified what the business problem was. We have talked to customers. We have talked to prospects that did not become, and we figure this stuff out and really help them get to their value proposition in a proper way, and then build everything around that. And so that's really difficult to do, because like it's very, I always say to prospects, like, you couldn't hire like one digital marketer, a CMO that could do all of that. It's the skill set is just too broad. Today it's like specialists. It takes a team of specialists to pull that off. And so the reason we're called quarterback is because Glenn and I are the people who bring in those specialists and make sure that it's all working together. Kind of like like a Rube Goldberg machine, the little foot kicks the ball and the ball goes down and it makes the water go. That's digital marketing today. It's like you place the ad has a message, it comes to a landing page or a blog post, carries on the conversation, it converts that person into a lead with the right lead generating vehicle on that page, that kicks off an email, an automated email that continues on that particular specific journey for that specific person. That's a lot.
So, like, usually, I introduce these podcasts by saying, what is like the sustainable advantage? The whole point of this series, of course, is for agencies who are on this treadmill where you're selling labor, revenue means payroll, so revenue is a liability. It's like, scaling is, you can't scale. If you have more revenue, you have more payroll, the payroll has to turn over. We're always talking about this, but you found a happy medium. And one of the big advantages you have is that we'll talk about it, but you're a network agency with a lot of subcontractors, but they are very loyal to you. You've had them for many years. So
Yeah.
that's one of your biggest advantage. So you have predictable, deliverable revenue. But let's get a quick shape. I always do this just to give other agencies listening to this, how they relate to you, how you relate to them. Just basic stuff. Number one, like, how many people work at your agency, both full-time and contractors?
There are 9 people on our team that are 9 regulars. There could be more that come and go uh, with more infrequency, but there are 9 people who are working with us on a regular, like all the time basis.
And then, like, how many are full-time? Just you and your husband, or do you have
It's
any others?
just my husband and I that are full time, and our so our feeling was that we did not want a bums and seats kind of agency. And we've seen this before because we've worked with agencies from time to time. And we see that people, oh, we've got unused capacity over here, we'll put them on this client job. But in that moment, that person's particular skill set isn't really optimal for that client in that moment. And so we have people who are specialists and really good at what they do, and we pull them in as needed, and they cycle out when they're not needed. And it's good for the client. It's good for profitability for us. These people also are like Glenn and I, like I always say we're unemployable at this point. We're too feral. Like it's just been too many years of being independent to ever even consider being employed. But these people are like that too. And what I like about them is that they're all self-motivated people. They're smart. They come in wanting to add value. That's our perspective when we bring on a new client, is like we're only going to bring them on if we're fairly certain that we can add real value to that client. So they've got the same mentality, and so it works for us.
Okay, let's go down this rabbit hole, because like this is a big problem with agencies, is bench optimization. And you're right, like if you have a common problem, it's not that you have a warm body who can do anything. So you have like X number of FTEs. You have a web designer or you have an SEO specialist. They can't. An SEO guy is not going to end up doing web design. It doesn't make any sense. So you end up having to hunt down clients that match your bench. It's crazy, and that's the treadmill. But you figure this out by having long-term contractors that are specialists. But that means if you don't need them, they can go work for other clients. So
right, and they do have other clients.
Yeah. So I think this is the most interesting thing. But one last question about shaping you, and we'll get into this, is like how many clients do you carry at any given month? Like how many are you working on?
I got to say no more than 5. And
Okay.
that has we could talk about that. And as I mentioned to you before we began today, it's at a really reflective time in my life because I've been at this for a long time. We've been at this for a long time. And we're right in the process right now of working with our accountant to figure out what does the road ahead look like for us? Do we want to sell? Is this an agency that we want to sell? And we'll come back to your thing, but I'm giving you the context of my thinking at this particular juncture, which is interesting. Do I want to sell my agency? Do I want to retire? Do I want to keep working? What does my life look like? And then how am I going to run my business or organize it to reflect sort of how I see our lives going?
Well, I think that's secretly my goal. Is like if you're an agency owner, like what do you own? Like, and then this is a story that I also tell. Like during the 2020 dip, there was a HubSpot, whatever, Super Ruby Tuesday. I don't know what these tiers are called. Agency owner, but I thought he was doing well. But he asked me, off camera, of course, never on camera. This is senior. What do I own? I was like, well, you have your staff, your brand. You seem to be doing well. It's like no, because like he was on the treadmill. Every month he told me he had to find work from his existing clients, and then for those who were churning, he had to replace them. So it was always like just selling time, but he didn't plan to be profitable. So he didn't have an asset. Like there was nothing that he held. It was just every month. It was month to month for him. And then when you have a big staff like he was entirely dependent on HubSpot sending them clients. It's not a sustainable model, and that really scared me. Hence, I've been doing this. It's like like you're a business. You should own something. I should actually one more shaping question. Like, how do you what are your commercial agreements with clients look like? So these are another retainer, billable hours. Like, what do you normally do with clients? And that will then we get into the rest of it.
Retainer. So I think technically, like the lawyers among us might say that's technically not. We're earning, where okay, let's say you're a lawyer and you're on retainer. Mm-hmm. You're just sitting there. You may not be doing anything some months for that money.
That's right.
That is not our case. So it's a monthly known payment. And we define the deliverables for each client about where we're going to be 6 months from now, 12 months from now. And it gives them a known spend so that they're for their own budgeting. And it gives us a budget every month from which we work from. And so typically, do you want me to
I mean,
make
you're
an
doing
example?
amortization, right? So
Yeah,
some
we're
months,
basic.
yeah,
Yeah,
some months you may go underwater technically on the stream of cash to that client, but then there'll be quiet periods while you're waiting for something to happen, and then because you defined a 12-month or 6-month project, and they're just
right.
paying you over the 6 months, but it's going to cost. You're actually delivering on the 6-month project. Is that correct?
Yeah, and so I think we go into it with the fact that our clients typically are going into it thinking if all goes to plan, because it's always unknown at the beginning for both parties. But if all goes to plan, this is going to be our our marketing team for the foreseeable future beyond 12 months. They want it to go sufficiently well that that's in place for a longer term. That I think it's generally correct that people are going in with that mindset, but they're not locked into anything. It's funny because typically clients come to us, and I wish people came with an amazing website, and that it was in it's an optimizer. Let's say we can optimize this thing. It's good enough that we can make it better. But more typical for us is that they're coming in with something that is a tear down, not a reno. So I told you a few minutes ago that in 2015, I said, I'm not building another website. Well, we've never built so many websites since I've said that. It's just with a completely different mindset now. It, it it's a different the entry or the reason we're building it is for a different purpose. And it is to give us the platform we need to be able to do what we do as digital marketers for them. So it's a bit of a mind shift. And in that, we have a higher budget to do it. So yeah, I will say to a client, if we're going to do this together, then you need to make a 6 or 12-month commitment to us, because we are amortizing basically the cost of this out over 12 months. But if you leave it 6, let's say if it's a big overhaul we're doing, if you leave at 6 and I'm underwater for 2 of those months, that's not going to work for. And so our contracts reflect that. So I don't know about other firms, and it may be that people are going, well, how do you get people to sign on for 6
That
or
was my
12
next
months
question.
from the get-go?
Yeah.
And I think it's just about the quality of conversations we're having early on with the client. So we are really, okay, so there's risk in having so few clients. I understand that. The risk is mitigated if you build up your war chest in your firm, if you retained earnings, your personal savings. If you can be disciplined over the years, like I always say, when you have options in business, you have more power, right? Because if you have good leads that regularly come into you, and we say no more than we say yes, because we work really deeply with our clients, and therefore there's only so many that we can have. But if we have lots of leads, we have options. So we can say no to the people we think are not going to be a good fit for us, or that we don't think we'll enjoy, which at this point in my life is a huge component of that. If I think that the client is not going to be collaborative and enjoyable to work with, that's a pass for us at this point, because we want to enjoy what we do. We're in our office a lot of the week, so it's got to be enjoyable, or we're not taking that on.
By the way,
So
I'll make a point here. So this is something that is something I've learned from this podcast. There's something called the turnaway rate, which should be at least 20% if you're going to be sustainable for market ups and downs. You're well over 50% turnaway.
I am, yeah.
Yeah. And then that makes a real advantage on sustainability, and your rates can go up, and then you can sleep at night, because if you lose a client, here comes another one, right? So
Right. And also, like, you can have moments. Like, I remember when we were, our model was completely different, so it's not even a fair comparison. But we were like babies in business, and the dot-com meltdown happened in the early 2000s. It's like, oh wow, like this is not good.
That was
There's
the end of my computer science career. Yeah, now I'm in
there's
marketing.
just
Yeah.
not a lot of people knocking on our door right now, and we did not have money in the bank. So, but I think those are instructive times, and we maybe for people who are early in their careers, this might be their first recession, and so that can be difficult. But you could also learn in those moments. Make sure you're saving, you're keeping lots of money in your company and retained earnings that
Do you have a
you're
percentage
saving the
target
money.
of every? Like, do you have a? Is it systematic, or are you just save,
Um,
save, save?
well, it's case to case, and honestly, it's in the life cycle of the project too. So early on, uh, almost all of our team members are working on it, and so I need to charge my clients a healthy amount because everybody on our team is good, and um, I can't expect them to cut their rates for us. Maybe we get like a friends and family rate because we bring them so much business, and that's why they prioritize us. That's part of how this works. But at the same time, I can't expect them to be constantly cutting their rates for us when they could go out and land their own business and get full
Yeah, yeah.
pop. So we pay them well, and it's my job to go out and command those rates because I know they're going to do a really good job for our clients. We have a process, and we really work as a team. We really do. This is not like some kind of like, hi, I haven't talked to you in 2 years. Are you available to do some work for us? We're talking with most of our team members every single week. So,
Okay, well, let's get into this side of things. I love talking about the finances too. So you how long? So these contractors. I mean, the real question is, what are the elements that make them so loyal to you? Because I think that is a big risk with working as a network agency. Is your subcontractors may not be available for you when you need them because they're busy with other clients. But in your case, they prioritize you. So you've
right.
figured something out here. So what did you do here to get them to be this loyal?
Okay, few things here. So, you know how I said, I really don't, at this point in my career, I really don't want to take on a client that is just unpleasant to work with, unrealistic, overly demanding, doesn't participate in solutions. I'm not interested in that. So I am not that person to the people who work for us. I value them. They've done lots of amazing work. It's collaborative. We have fun. We laugh a lot. It's an enjoyable thing. So they like working with Glenn and I to start with. We bring on nice, good people as clients. So if they are interacting directly with a client, those people are great to work with. So that's a big part of things, right? And then creative people, you can't be sticking a screwdriver in somebody's ribs that's creative all the time and expect them to do amazing work. Pressure does not equal results. And so my feeling is that I'm very okay. So one of the reasons, and this won't be for everybody, but one of the reasons we only take on a handful of clients at any given time is that Glenn and I are very involved in the clients. We are not landing the business and giving it to a project manager, and the clients know this. We are the quarterbacks on their project. And so for the people who work with us, we're really participating in the solutions with them. It's collaborative. We're going out, we're bringing we've got a lot of experience now. So we're bringing things to the table where they go, "Oh my god, I love that idea." And then they're enthusiastic. They're enjoying the work. I think we pay them well. We pay them fast. We also remove them largely from the client. So I think one of our strengths is that we show up to the client as an equal to the CEO hiring us. So we look at their businesses very holistically, not just as marketers with all these tactical, we could do this, we could turn this knob and, you know, crank this lever. We're talking about the business fundamentals with them. And so I think that they respect us. I always say owning an agency can be a really lonely thing, especially if you don't have a partner, because a lot of people do have all these people that are relying on them. There's a lot of pressure. Um, there's a there's a lot to managing clients, and it can be very lonely if you're the sole person doing that. Well, think about your client. It could be the same for the client. And if you can be that person to your client
Yes.
and you have that strength, but it requires you to be strong with your client. So if you are not strong, you are an order taker. If
This is
you
what
are strong, you are a leader and you are entrusted to do what's right, and they will get out of the way and
you're
allow you
often
to
the
be the
only
expert.
person they can talk to because they're
Yeah.
afraid of their investors. They're afraid of they're always beholden to customers, their
Their
employees.
staff is it? Yeah,
They
their
can't they
staff's
can't
not
show
telling
weaknesses.
them.
Like they're wrapped up in their own. They're neurotic. I actually have this totally other thing that I not on this podcast, but like I go on. People ask me about culture. Is I tell them all my staff when I'm freaking out. It's a lot easier that way because it's a lot easier because I'm going to freak out and then I'm going to behave weirdly. And this is what I saw from when I was a contractor consultant is that the CEOs who got wrapped up started behaving erratically because they couldn't know how to express it. But it's better to just tell your staff, this worries me. That's my emotion. But like obviously then we can talk, we're on a team and then we can work on it professionally. But often they need an outside voice. Like I said, we're trying to calm them down, right? Make them
Right.
feel they're back in control. We're therapists. That's
Well,
awesome.
it totally is, and I'm very honest, but are the people who when they're just a prospect before they become a client, I'm really um, politely honest with them about what I think and about what working together would look like, and um, and that's either going to make us a good fit or it isn't. But getting back to the people who work for us, I am the buffer between them and the client. So once the client sees us and our team as experts, when that copy is written for their website after the research is done, and I do a walkthrough of it all with the client. I don't just lob it over the fence and ask them to accept it. I walk them through it so I could tell them what the thinking behind everything is. So it's a really critical stage. And almost always, there are little to no changes in the copy that we're creating that is entirely new for them. It's an entirely new way of communicating their value proposition. And so, and so you go back to your writer and you say, nope, they accepted it lock, stock, and barrel. And they go, are you kidding me? So, I mean, that's huge, right? How many hours in needless revisions has that just saved that person? So, being strong with the client and going into the engagement with them knowing you're hiring us to lead, you have to let us lead. So,
That's
I
such an
think that's a big
interesting
part of our
point.
relationship.
Like you're providing high attention. I worked in the long ago. I was subcontracting for another agency when I was trying to like learn the ropes, and this guy he had always overloaded, and we would do the team sync, and he had Harvest, the time tracking tool, open, and he'd have like 20 timers, and he would every 30 seconds he switched from client to client because he was billing every second
Oh,
of his
God.
time, and he had so
Oh,
many
God.
clients, and then he would abandon them to me. This is my story when I got fired by a client was actually with working with this agency because it was so chaotic and I was the only one there providing support. But it's true. Like if you're trying to, like I said, if you're trying to sell common control, it's so pleasant as a subcontractor to know that you're working with a quarterback that is bringing the order to the project rather than you and like because otherwise crap runs downhill as we know, and you know That's interesting. That's interesting that you point that out because so many agencies try to get the owner out of the experience and then try to like package it
Yeah,
up. But in this case, it's the other way around, which is an
it's
excellent way to
taken me
phrase
yeah, it's taken me way too long to learn this. But actually, if you share the problem, because there are always challenges.
it. Sure.
If there were no challenges, you wouldn't be hired. And some of them, like I have a client right now who shall remain nameless. This gig is hard because it is an expensive B2B service. And I had said no to them. And then they asked for additional sales calls so that they could convince us why we should take them on as a client.
Yeah.
And so I went into the call and my partner said, "You're coming out of this, like you're getting rid of them." And I said, "Yes." And I came back and I went, "I'm sorry, I just signed them." And it's worked out great because the great thing about them is that they do amazing work, like really high value work. But the not amazing thing for us is that they had zero marketing momentum. And so I told them, look, you've got to be patient. Rome wasn't built in a day. And if you're going to be impatient, we can't work together. But you're not bringing anything to this party. And so we're going to build everything from scratch. And I'm telling you right now, it's going to take a while. So you've got to be cool with that. And so I think setting expectations, but then the other thing is you're not just sort of strong when you're landing the client, you're strong all the way through because naturally your strength in the eyes of the clients declines over time. They want what they want. Things are hard, you know. But you have to maintain that level of leadership or you become the vendor. And that is the beginning of the end of the relationship. Who knows how long it'll take? It varies by client, but if you don't maintain your strength and you're being seen as the expert, you become the vendor, and then everything else starts to slide, including the amount of money that you can command down the road.
That's interesting. Like so, I guess I gotta swing into that for a second. So one thing we stepped aside was like you have a high turnover rate and you command high rates. Um, so where do your clients come from? Like this is people are gonna like demand I ask this question because like a lot of them don't have client pipelines. I
I
mean, you've been
know.
around for a while, but like where would you say?
Well, it's not our website very like to a large degree. Well, I'm very critical because one of my failings in business is that we always put our clients first. We're incredibly
Yeah,
dedicated to our clients.
the
And
shoemaker's shoes. Yeah, it's the same thing.
yeah, it's our own like web presence, you know, my partner would say too, like sucks and we've got to get to it. And we keep saying we've got to get to this, but we're always busy. So anyways, putting that aside, our website actually does generate some leads. I think through reputation as well. I'm an active campaign certified consultant,
That's how
and
we
I
met,
do get,
right? Yeah,
pardon me?
that's how we met, actually.
Yeah. So I do get leads. Largely, those are not really the kind of leads that, like, we're not really, while we do get into the tactical, we begin as strategic and more business consultants before the tactics come into play. So a lot of those leads really aren't suitable for us, but we do get leads from that. And just I have some clients that, especially in the agency world, like Win Without Pitching is a client of ours, and they are well known in the agency world and very respected. And we were a student of their program for a couple of years, and then they hired us to be their marketing people. And we've been that for 4 years. So that's been a fun journey. And I've met a lot of people through that. And, a lot of people reach out to us and go, well, if you're the marketing, if Blair Enns hires you, then I want to hire you too. So my largest client right now, that was a case. And interestingly, we get so my largest client now reached out to our copywriter. We have a conversion copywriter that does most of our writing for us on, for conversion copy. And they reached out to her and she said, I can't do what you need done. You need to reach out to quarterback. And then if they think you're a fit, they'll bring me on the team. So that's how you get me based on what you need. And so you could see really really are team oriented.
That's amazing. But how long did it take you to back to this topic? How long did it take you to build that team? Because finding you end up working through a bunch of contractors before you find one you like. How long did it take you to build that team?
Oh, I guess it kind of evolved with the evolution of our business too. So I wouldn't say that all of a sudden we woke up and we knew everything that we needed and went on the hunt to put it together. I think as we morphed from being that old company into quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
the various facets of what we did sort of evolved kind of organically and naturally, and we would find each person. I don't know, like I found everybody in different ways. So, my active campaign specialist I found on an active campaign Slack channel. It was just dumb luck. I was already interviewing some people and I just thought, oh, I think they have a Slack channel and I'm not really a Slack person. And I just dropped a line on the Slack thing and my guy was there and he's such an important person to us and we absolutely love him as a human being too. So that was just meant to be. I went through a few copywriters. Copywriters are like, we call ourselves a copy first agency because I always say you could have an amazingly designed site with terrible copy, or you could have amazing copy on a white screen. Which would you choose? Well, you would always choose the amazing copy on a white screen because copy converts. Now, thankfully, you don't have to choose between those things, but I just like to stress the importance of that. So the copywriter thing was really important to me. So I just happen to know copywriters. So I started going through my network, looking for people, working with different people. Some people are just amazing writers, but they aren't digging sort of the team feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I found somebody that's amazing and really wanted to be part of a team while having her own gig as well. And so, I don't have any one answer. It's very organic and people came in different ways and people cycled out. Like a developer for us, he changed his career but he put us onto the person who took over for him. So different answers.
I mean, I know I guess I'm giving you, I'm interpreting your answer because I've been doing so many of these. But what I keep hearing is that you're just fun and pleasant to work with, and then therefore you attract people who are high quality because that's fundamentally, what's this all about? Are we like trying to just work as many hours until we die? Like that is unfortunately a lot of agency life is 60-hour weeks, 80-hour weeks. But if you can build an agency that makes your life actually function, which is core to yourself and therefore extends to your team, and getting good clients who are good people, then of course you're going to be attracting the best people because the best people want to live well. I mean, that's what they work so hard to achieve. Right?
It's so important. You really have to treat people well. You have to, as I say, you spend so much time working. It can be fun and you do great work. And so honestly, clients really need to learn that too. Like,
all right, I have one more question.
yeah,
Because you can't just drop win without pitching, win without pitching. And you're the marketer. So, because this is, I think, an important thing for agencies to hear. So, can you boil down just so give them a teaser, the audience, about win without pitching is, so they can.
Well, this is interesting too, and I always say I'm the world's worst feminist because like I just don't indulge in anything like that. It's just me. It's I'm not
Not
I'm
rich enough
not
to get
getting
canceled, Kelly.
but I've always been strong with clients. And, because you've got to set expectations, you've got to lead in the sale in order to lead in the engagement. And so that was sort of my like default way of doing sales. And not everybody will be a right fit. But remember, I don't need everybody to be a right fit. I only need a few people to be a right fit. So I've got to be who that person's going to be when they sign the contract in the sale. And so I stumbled on, I can't even remember now how I did that, but I found Win Without Pitching somehow. And, and then I kind of went away from them and I came back and I ended up doing training with them for a couple of years. And they kind of told me, I think because women, I know this for a fact in my work with Win Without Pitching, that women leaders question themselves, was I too strong there? Was that a little too much? Where I don't know if men do that as much, like second guess themselves like that. But
All humans are neurotic. Everyone has imposter syndrome. I have an imposter for that
I
too.
could tell you from a database perspective that the female agency owner contingent struggle with that a bit more. And so really, Wit Without Pitching told me it's okay. You should be that person in the sale. It's not only okay, but here's a skill set to build upon for what was for me my natural inclination. And so, just learning how to price for the value you create. I haven't tracked time in, well, hardly ever, but what a waste of time tracking time. So I think, if you can learn to price properly and you can learn to have good qualifying conversations, then, what Win Without Pitching teaches you is that the closing conversation takes care of itself.
Yeah,
It's just
and that's a real consultative agency sales approach versus those who are doing productized, because there's different spectrums.
Exactly.
So and then you can push your rates higher and then maybe work in more interesting projects if that's where you want to be.
And I think like something that Win Without Pitching could explore more is sort of the mindset and behavior part of things, because you really do have to go into every conversation that you're selecting them as much as they're selecting you with a little bit of a hand up. You don't want to be overeager. You really want to make sure if you bring on a bad client, then you're now taking up great capacity for when the great client does come your way, that will pay you more and be better to work with. So I think you've really got to know what you're looking for in a client as much as they're doing it. And they sense that. Clients sense, oh, you're not just saying yes to me, like panting for this business, right?
It's terrifying when you, as a client, when you see a contractor who just says yes to everything, because you know that you're now the decision maker.
Right.
And what's the fundamental theory of
Exactly.
contracting? I'm going to take care of it for you so you can calm down and your life will get back under control. But if you're saying yes to everything, things are not under control. I'm back under control, controlling it as a client. And see, the moment you increase the client's anxiety is the moment they fire you in their head. I've learned that. It's basically what happens. I cannot emphasize that enough. Like if that's the, it is really what you said. Like you have to, because you are an expert. I know it really, it may be true. I mean, I don't have any reason to doubt it that women or men have different levels of self-doubt, but everyone has imposter syndrome. And so I can't leave this without telling people who are listening to this, you're not alone. Maybe men just have more of there's been, conversation about it. We all know. I mean, we just take it as bacon part of the cake as far as we're concerned. Maybe, I don't know, but I have this. I make it a point to point out when I'm freaking out to people for this reason, because it's easier for them to work with me, to know, not instead of hiding it. But I have this imposter's prayer. I will end with, maybe I'm interviewing myself, but it's I feel like an imposter host. No, it's I don't know what I'm doing.
Like imposters.
The imposter's prayer. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm not stupid, and I will figure it out. If just say that to yourself, and you're not alone. Everyone feels like it, but if you go into business engagement, they know. I mean, don't be arrogant to say you know everything, but you know what you know.
No.
Yeah, you know what you know. You're there because for a reason, and just do just focus on doing your level best work in that moment. And if it's good enough, it'll be great. If it's not good enough, that's okay too. You'll learn something and get better next time. That's all you can do. You know, if you're in, I mean, I'm doing sales pitches all the time for AppBind because we're building a new product for the SaaS vendors. I'm getting these are all my friends. They'll kick me in the teeth. I asked them to kick me in the teeth, but then the sales pitch gets better. No, but
See,
every
here's
agency should be an AppBind. That's we already figure all that stuff out. So get on, get on. I don't even need to pitch you. It's already a given. You're going to use AppBind, everybody.
okay, so here's what I would say is that, if you should look at the way that you sell as an act of benevolence. This is sort of my own thinking on this.
Yeah, you're
Is
there to make
because
the world a better place.
you're going into this thinking, can I bring what we're good at to bear for you in a way that will change the trajectory of your company, right? And if I can, then we should continue this conversation and talk about the value that we might create and how much you might be willing to pay for that. That's how, and then as Blair, when they're pitching, I love what he says, then you take the profit, you immediately take the profit off of that engagement. And that's your budget that you have left to work with, right? But too many agency owners go, okay, so we're gonna do this and this is gonna cost this much, and then they figure out, oh, there was this much profit at the end of the day, you know?
I was just
You've
trying to
got
get you earlier. What is like? Do you have a target profit rate or margin that you just push away into these separate accounts? Because I think
I
that's really
do.
important.
I'm going to keep that under my hat. And it does vary a little. It varies, as I said before. Like if we're in this first 6 months, it's going to be really different than like month 12 to month 18 or even 18 to 24. It gets better. So it changes. But I'd say that we go into this saying, here's our monthly budget. And for the most part, let's say when we've got momentum and we've got the big stuff out of the way, it's like, this is our profit margin. Now this is the budget we have to spend. Because we're not going to be around for the client if there's no margin at the end of the day.
Yeah, of course.
So
And it has
everybody
to be
needs
margin.
margin.
Well, this is like you have to go in with profit in mind. If you don't plan for profit, the profits aren't going to plan themselves, right? So you have
And
to.
guess what? Your clients respect you for that because you're a pretty shitty business owner if you're not doing that, right? So
100%.
how good can you be for them if you can't even run your own business?
Yeah, then you're going around begging everyone at a party for a client all the time. 'Cause you're incredible.
yeah.
That's me. So everyone should sign up for AppBind. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm not kidding. You should do that. But
Well, I have to say, like, I just learned about AppBind from
yeah,
your outreach to me. And it does look really interesting. And I was telling my partner about it because every tool or what it solves an actual need. It does. And it can be a very frustrating need either at the beginning or at the end if you don't manage it right.
yeah,
So I have already said to him, you need to check out AppBind because you are the person who does that stuff.
yeah. It's all about all this stuff. Take care of your client. It's not about controlling them. It's about giving you the power to just get on with taking care of their clients, setting up their whole stack, active campaign, or whatever else you're building. That's what we do.
Lots
All
of
right.
things.
So, how do the folks find you on the interwebs if they want to reach out to you, Kelly?
Well, you can reach out to me from our website at quarterbackdigital.com. So send me an email. Like if you're an agency owner and any of this is remotely interesting to you in some way, let me know. I love to hear from you. You find me on LinkedIn, but please mention the podcast because otherwise I might ignore it because LinkedIn. And I think that's pretty much the best place to find me. But reach out. I'd love to hear from you.
If you made it all the way to into the podcast, because this has been a great podcast, you deserve a drink. Come join us at agencycocktails.com. I think our next one is December 6th. That's virtual because it's the end of year planning party / we all need a drink at the end of this year. We'll ship you a
I,
bottle. We'll ship you a bottle. Come join us. It's really important to have these conversations with each other. Thank you again.
Absolutely.
All right.
Oh, my pleasure. Nice to join you.
For more great insights on partnerships and software, like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.